Have you ever felt like life was being unfair to you? Like you worked so hard, yet opportunity slipped away? Maybe you've lost something precious or faced rejection when you needed acceptance the most. But here's the thing. What feels like a setback right now might actually be the very thing that protects you or prepares you for something greater. This story will take you on an emotional ride, one that will change the way you see success, failure, and even the meaning of life. So listen carefully until the very end. In a tall glass office building in the middle of New York City, there worked a young man named Daniel Reed. Daniel was smart, hardworking, and ambitious. He came from a modest family, studied hard, and landed a job at one of the most prestigious investment firms in the city. For his parents back home, this was a dream come true. For Daniel, it was proof that hard work always pays off, but corporate life wasn't as shiny as it looked from the outside. Long hours, endless pressure, ruthless competition. Daniel lived in constant stress. Still, he kept pushing, believing that one day he'd climb the ladder and make it big. His pride and joy was a project he'd been working on for months, a multi-million-dollar deal he was about to close. If successful, it would secure him a huge promotion. He saw it as the turning point of his career. One afternoon, the CEO of the firm, Mr. Harrison, called Daniel into his office. Harrison was impressed with Daniel's work. "Daniel," he said, "I've been watching you. You have potential. This deal you're working on, it could define your career. Don't mess it up." Daniel walked out of that office with his heart racing. He called his parents, told his friends, even started daydreaming about the new position. But not everyone was happy. His colleague, Mark, who had been at the firm longer than Daniel, grew jealous. And jealousy in the corporate world can be dangerous. 2 weeks later, just days before the deal was to be signed, Daniel received shocking news. An internal investigation had been launched into his project. Documents had been misplaced. Numbers didn't add up. Someone accused him of misconduct. It was all false. But in the high-stakes corporate world, perception often mattered more than truth. The deal slipped away. His promotion disappeared. And soon after, Daniel was fired. Overnight, everything he'd worked for crumbled. Friends avoided him. His colleagues whispered behind his back. Even his parents, though supportive, were heartbroken. Daniel sat alone in his tiny apartment, staring at the termination letter. "Why me? Why now?" he whispered. He felt abandoned, cheated, and broken. For weeks, Daniel spiraled into depression. He applied to dozens of companies but faced rejection after rejection. His confidence shattered. One evening, sitting in a cafe with his close friend Maya, he poured his heart out. "I gave that company everything, and now I have nothing." Maya looked at him calmly and said, "Daniel, sometimes what breaks us is what saves us. You don't see it now, but give it time." Daniel shook his head. To him, these were just empty words. Months later, Daniel finally got a small job at a local nonprofit organization. It wasn't glamorous. The salary was a fraction of what he earned before. His parents were disappointed. But Daniel, he had no choice. At the nonprofit, he worked with struggling families, refugees, and underprivileged kids. At first, he felt out of place, but slowly, something inside him began to change. He started seeing the world differently. These people had nothing, yet smiled more than his wealthy colleagues ever did. He began teaching math to kids who dreamed of going to college. He repaired old laptops for students who couldn't afford new ones. For the first time in years, he felt human. Still, he often thought about his past, about the deal that slipped away, about the career that ended too soon. Then came another twist. One morning, as Daniel was reading the news, his eyes froze. The investment firm he once worked for, the one that fired him, had collapsed overnight. The reason? The very project Daniel had been working on, the one that got him fired. It had turned out to be fraudulent from the beginning. Billions lost, lawsuits everywhere, executives arrested. If Daniel had stayed, his name would have been dragged through the mud. His career, his reputation, Even his freedom could have been destroyed. He sat back, stunned. The very thing he once cried over had saved him. That evening, Daniel visited Maya. His eyes were wet. "You were right," he said. "What broke me saved me." Maya smiled. "I told you. Life doesn't show its cards all at once. Sometimes you have to lose what you think is important to find what truly matters." From that day, Daniel stopped chasing only money and status. He poured his heart into his work at the nonprofit. Over the years, he grew into a respected leader, impacting thousands of lives. He built a life of meaning, one he never could have imagined back in the corporate tower. And whenever someone asked about his past, he would smile and say, "Good or bad?" Only time can tell. Daniel's story became a living reminder that success and failure aren't always what they seem. The job he lost felt like the end of the world, but it was the beginning of his true life's purpose. What looked like a curse was a hidden blessing. So, my friend, maybe you're in Daniel's shoes right now. Maybe you've lost something, a job, a relationship, an opportunity, and you can't understand why. Remember this, everything has a reason. What feels like rejection may actually be protection. What looks like a loss today may be the door to a better tomorrow. Be patient in the storm, be grateful in the sunshine, and trust that your Creator's plan is always greater than yours. Because in the end, you'll see, nothing in life is random. If this story touched you, leave a like, share it with someone who needs hope, and tell us in the comments, what did you learn from this story? We'll see you in the next one. Take care.